To end this episode, we had the first part of Guardians Crusade, a game I bought after just watching a video listing obscure PS1 games and thought it would be an interesting game to try out for this show. Then it took me nearly 2 years to actually play it. Since this is an RPG, I'll quickly go over what my goal is to consider this game fully complete. I will be completing every side quest, obtaining every treasure, and maxing out the number of every item, along with obtaining all of our AI partners' transformations. However, for the first time, I will not be reaching the game's level cap. I'll go over it more near the end of the game, but the quick version is that, like maxing all the parts in Beyblade, it's a task that goes way beyond reasonable mainly because the level cap is absurdly high. Although I do reach a level that's pretty ridiculous anyway, and I doubt many players have got as high leveled as I did. On starting a new game, we get to see a stork carrying a baby through a thunderstorm before he gets attacked by monsters and all three of them are struck by lightning, causing the stork to drop the baby. We then cut to inside the house of our sleeping main character, where he's woken up by this fairy, Nehane. We get a chance to name ourselves, but I'd stick with the canon name, Knight. Nehane nags him to wake up, telling him that the mayor was looking for him. So Knight gets dressed and goes outside. We start the game in Orgo Village at level 1 with 100 rubies, the game's currency. We start equipped with a short sword, leather armour, wooden helmet and wooden shield, and 2 key items called junk for some reason. These are the Knight's Courage, inherited from his father, and Smile from his mother. I can also talk to Nehane whenever I want if I need to remind myself of the current objective. First thing I do is turn on fast battle mode to make things go faster. Before talking to the mayor, I have some items to collect. Even in empty houses like this one, Nehane seems to have a comment for just about every single object he can inspect. In the house directly north of Knight's, I can inspect a bookshelf and have Nehane tell me I can't take the money in one of the books because it doesn't belong to me. In the same house, I can inspect this barrel to find a rusted toy. She doesn't object to me stealing this though, she even says we should take it. Not to mention these crates. First she tells me I shouldn't be looking through other people's things, but as soon as there's something interesting inside she's into it as well. This crate gets me a dusty toy. We can't use the toys just yet, but it helps to get collecting them out of the way. East of that house is the mayor's house. When inside, I go east into another room and then out into his flower garden where I can steal a mind berry growing from one of them. This is an item that cures confusion. Back inside, I enter the mayor's room and talk to him to find he has an errand for me. He wants me to deliver a letter to Mayor Kaelin of Sanclaria. He also gives me an angel's tear, which cures poison. The town's vegetable crop isn't harvested and bad things are also apparently happening in Sanclaria, and he just wants Kaelin's opinion on whether or not they should be worrying. He also tells me to ask Mary for a snack to take on the journey. Mary is the woman outside an empty house slightly northwest of Knight's. She gives me a candy bar, a healing item. To the southwest is the farm where I can have the farmers complain to me about the bad harvest. One of them talks about his son Algo, who he sent to gather mushrooms once. He talks about how his child was attacked by monsters and, exhausted, accidentally ate a toadstool and nearly paralysed himself. His force? What an idiot. I enter the nearby building and inspect a box to find a sickweed, and next to it a chest containing a cute toy. Back to the houses and west takes me out into the wilderness, which is basically the game's equivalent to a world map. But the entire game world outside of buildings and caves and the like is all on one large screen. Instead of random encounters, enemies are seen wandering around as ghosts that trigger battles on contact. This first enemy is a Neugen. Right now all I can do is attack and use items. This is one of the weakest enemies in the game and dies in 2 hits at level 1, but one attack still takes over half of my starting HP. However, I can rest for a free full heal in my house. Sleeping at my house or at inns is also the only way you can save your game, so I get to grinding first before I try and go anywhere. My second battle gets me to level 2. So I just continue to follow the path looking for more enemies in the grass and around the trees. A couple fights later is another new enemy, the Little Worm. It dies in 1 hit and I get the XP to reach level 3. I can face up to 2 enemies at once in this game. It's not long before I reach level 4. At one point I go through some trees to reach the edge of the land and find a monkey tail. These might be a threat for a level 1 knight, but 3 levels later they only do 1 damage to me and die in 2 hits. My next fight after that gets me to level 5. Slightly northwest gets me to a beach, and I'm now so high level for these enemies that the ghosts went from pink to white and now actively avoid me, so I have to chase them down. That's because this Jellyfishman also dies in a single hit. With that I get following the road northwest, taking out any enemies that get near. Eventually I reach a sign saying that Sanclaria is to the west of here. It's only a few steps from the sign. One thing I really like about this game's soundtrack is that every single town has its own unique theme, which you wouldn't really expect from an obscure RPG from the late 90s. Even Final Fantasy 7 and 8 didn't have unique tracks for every town. I bring this up because when I made the music ranking video months in advance before writing this script, I was surprised at how much I really liked Sanclaria's theme for such a minor track you'll hear for about 2 minutes at the beginning of the game and then never again. I don't know what's going on with the people who live here though. I don't know if that's some kind of mask or they have disturbing xenomorph heads with one giant eye. So I get a free stay at the inn because business is struggling since the bridge to the town washed away. I don't know why I'll give myself away for free then. In terms of flavour, there's this poet reciting something about a Julia, only for Julia to be hiding behind the nearest building listening in. The mayor's house is next to Julia. I go upstairs and give him the letter. He asks me to tell our mayor he has nothing to worry about. Our bad crops and their lack of the town's signature furfish is just a coincidence and things will sort themselves out. Before leaving, I go into his bathroom and steal a go-go bean from his shelf, leaves Q asleep. In the northwest corner of town there's a house on the beach. Inside is a chest with a wind-up toy. That's all I need to do in this town? Seems a cosy place and once again, great music. Not my favourite track, but it's up there. Definitely my favourite town theme though. Now to get back to Argo. My first battle on the way back gets me to level 6. As I reach my hometown's entrance, there's a pink Moomin looking thing just hanging in the middle of the road. If I try talking to it, a light shines down from the sky and an old man appears. He says it's Knight's destiny to deliver this baby to its mother, who lives in God's Tower. And you know the usual, darkness, don't fuck it up. Nahani has no idea what that was about, but the baby is now following us. She suggests we ask the mayor for his advice. The mayor thinks I got poisoned and hallucinated it all, because he believes that monsters don't have parents, just curses. So he thinks the baby is the cause of the bad harvest. The next day he wants me to take the baby to the Cave of Fear and abandon it there. He's so sure that the next morning he's managed to convince Nahani that it was an illusion after all. So time to run along the same path for a third time. Now the baby will appear in battles but run before the fight can start. This time when I reach the sign, I take the east path towards Grave Road. I soon reach level 7. Grave Road itself is straightforward with a grave for the hero Sir Darwin at the end, but along it is a side path north that also turns west and east at points. Along this path I get 2 new enemies in a single fight, the weak Jester and the goofy looking Dino. One of them drops a long sword when I kill it, which is 1 point stronger than my short sword. My next battle is against another new enemy, the Bonefly. My next battle gets me to level 8. At the end of the path is a broken bridge and next to it the entrance to the Cave of Fear. Nahani tells him to be careful and we see him off inside, although it's clear he doesn't want to go alone. The sign next to the cave says that terrible demons are inside, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Now it's time to head back. A fight with some Boneflies has one drop some padded armour, a 1 point increase in defence of the leather armour. Then Knight reaches level 9. I stop by Sanclaria and stay at the inn. In his sleep, Knight relives the talk of his destiny with question mark, and the next morning decides he's going to find the baby again. On the way back to the Cave of Fear, he reaches level 10. Before, Nahani would stop me entering the cave, but now I can go in. In the cave, this first screen is very linear, so I just follow the tunnel. My first battle is against a Bearaphant, this gross blue drowsy lookalike. Not much else in this room, so at the end I go through the entrance to the next. This next room is just as straightforward. I battle my first snake ray here. At this point I'm killing most things with one hit. Just before the next room's entrance I can rotate the camera to find a chest against the wall containing a candy bar. Majority of the chests in dungeons are hidden by the default camera angle. I enter the next room. This one seems just as simple until I reach a fork towards the end. Between north and east I take the northern path to a new room. It just has a chest with a mysterious toy inside. I go back and take the eastern exit. In here there's a huge dragon skull with a chest inside that contains a cool toy and a bronze shield. It's 2 points stronger than the wood shield. After this I reach level 11 and from the skull I head east into another room. This room is a few steps north to another fork. I go west and then north to another room. Following this path I meet my first new enemy since the first room, the Blue Boy. The strongest monster faced so far, it deals around 1/6 of my current max health with an attack and is the first that can survive 2 attacks from me. Following the path some more leads to another fork. First I go east across a bridge to a chest with a hamburger inside, then back across and north to the next exit. Before reaching it though, I face my first Fauntus. Its main attack animation is just insane. Right away in this next room I go north for a chest with a bronze sword inside. It's 1 point stronger than the longsword. Now it's time to backtrack to the fork 2 rooms ago. On the way back is my first Fat Bat enemy. This battle gets Knight to level 12. Back at the previous fork I go east into the next room. This room has 3 of these green people guarding the entrance to the town Kell. Nahani explains to them why we are here. The Kellians decide to take us to their elder. One of them leads me over to the elder and tells him what we're after. He'll only tell us where the baby went if we do something for them first. Their tribe is being terrorised by a monster called a Mushmare and is currently in the storage room eating their supplies. We just have to kill it to get our information. But first we get to explore the town a little. There's a tent in the southeast where I can take a toadstool from a barrel. The Kellyan in there tells us why the Mushmere is attacking. Someone tried to cook him in his sleep. In a tent on the east end of town you can find a magic pill to make Knight grow taller, but a jealous Nahani won't let him take it. In the centre east of town is a Kellyan who lets you sleep in his tent for free. In the southwest corner of town I can find another toadstool in a well. I really stress over which items to toss while I still have the limited inventory, as I don't want to throw away a limited item. Much later it will turn out that all that stressing was pointless. North of the inn tent is another where I can take another free toadstool from a jar in exchange for agreeing to kill the Mushmere. East of that tent is the entrance to the storage room. The Mushmere is just standing there pulsating, so I slowly walk up to start the fight. The annoying thing about bosses in this game is that all of them deactivate the fast battle option, so you have to play at the default speed. And after hours of fast battles, it feels much slower than it actually is. I don't know why things need to be slowed down. This isn't ATB, we just take turns attacking. Apart from that, the first boss is very easy. He only has 86 HP and I deal over 30 with an attack. He has a blood-sucking attack that heals him by the damage he deals to me, but it doesn't help and I kill him with just 3 attacks. He also drops an iron sword on death. It's a 2-point attack increase over the bronze sword. I continue the Mushmere's activities though and steal a hamburger from a box in the corner. A Kellyan takes me back to the Elder. In return he opens a door behind himself and says that the baby should be back there. He also rewards us with a wind-up toy. We wind it up and it starts talking to us. He introduces himself as Mr. O'Neill. He's one of many living toys. He says that they were created by Professor Zebeto to make the world a better place. He was the first living toy created to help people out in battles. This is what all those toys I've been collecting earlier are for. Using PP, or psychic points, I can use a living toy for some kind of special function. They're basically this game's version of standard RPG magic spells. The toys I collected before have been removed from the junk section and are now in a new living toy menu. So far I have 7. There's Cupid, who heals the party a little. Dark Postle deals darkness damage to the enemies. Jupiter deals light damage. O'Neill beats the enemies with his baton. Nurse heals a single party member. Pyro deals fire damage to a single enemy. Finally, Viper paralyses enemies with a blow dart. The Elder also said there was another stashed away in the storage room. When I return, there is a new chest containing Da Bomb. The bomb charges up over a few turns before exploding, damaging both the party and all enemies. I can also search this bag for a peach potion, which restores a small amount of PP. Outside of O'Neill, none of the living toys have any story presents, but I think they're a neat unique way to go about the usual RPG skills and spells. A nice way to have a collection side quest that directly benefits you gameplay wise. Back in the Elder's house I can take another peach potion from a jar. I then go through the newly opened door. The tunnel leads to this fancy gate. Inside is another door I can't open, but there's a hole in the west wall I can go through. First is an empty room going west some more into a much larger room. Halfway through the room I go south into another room with a chest containing the living toy Phoenix. It removes all status effects. Back to the large room and I go all the way northwest to the next room. I then go north into a room overlooking a waterfall. North a little and there's a chest to the east containing the living toy Walk Bomb. This one logs every single step I take and then converts those steps into damage when I use it, which then resets the counter to 0. I decide I'm going to save it for the final boss to see how much damage I can build up. Then it's northwest through another exit. It looks like this room has a fork, but both paths rejoin after a bit, but the western path has a chest hidden away with a candy bar inside. Then it's north into the next room where I can see the baby sleeping in a giant nest. But I run right past him and go north to the next room so I can open a chest for a bronze male, a point stronger than the padded armour. I then return to check on the baby. He talks in his sleep about not being able to eat anymore. Then Nahani sees the broken eggshells around him and connects the dots, just in time for the angry parent to appear. The Gale Stalk has 206 HP. I start by calling out Da Bomb. After it hits me for about a fifth of my health, Nahani also slaps it for a single digit damage, which is a random occurrence that can happen. I get a couple hits in myself and when it comes time for Da Bomb to explode, I set Knight to defend, taking no damage while the Gale Stalk takes over 130, finishing it off. Knight also reaches level 13. I obtain the living toy Time Out, which makes everything in the battle invincible for 3 turns. Nahani says we only knocked out the Gale Stalk, so there's no need to kill it since it was only defending its nest. She also sees light coming from further on. The baby gives Knight a heavy stone. Nahani can understand what the baby is saying, but before they can speak more, the Gale Stalk wakes up. It chases everyone through the next screen and out of the cave where there's just a cliff edge, resulting in everyone falling after Nahani isn't strong enough to hold the others. We wake up in a bedroom being looked after by an old couple, Amos and Martha. Amos found us floating down the river and brought us to his home to heal. Nahani fills them in on everything that's happened so far. After that, the conversation is interrupted by this kid, Bonnick. He was the one who physically carried us here after Amos found us. He's staying in the room next door if we need him. He's also very loud and doesn't get why we'd want to go to God's Tower, as there'd be no one there to sell things to. Since it's night, everyone gets a bit of sleep. But Knight can't sleep, so I go next door and talk to Bonnick. I can look at what he has to sell, including a gun that's free, but he refuses to sell it as he's holding onto it for another customer. Is Bonnick an arms dealer? He does give me a free hamburger though, and then a free cheeseburger, followed by some bubblegum, and then a terra seed, which I'll never use. He says if I'm going to God's Tower, I'll be needing to go east through Easton. At this point everyone goes to sleep, and the next morning Bonnick has already left. I go downstairs and talk to Martha. She wishes everyone a good morning, but blanks on the baby's name, making Nehani realise we don't know it yet either. And so we get to name him, and after all the build up, the baby's canonical name is Baby. Baby likes it, so we're sticking with it. Talking to Amos has him gift us a living toy to help us reach God's Tower. Mapster just shows us the entire world map. Nehani thanks a couple for their help and we leave. Now Baby's officially in the party, he also acts as an item bank, so I can fit every single item inside him at 100 copies each too. Baby has an affection system too, which influences how he fights since he is AI controlled. Feeding him items and giving him orders in battle helps with his affection. Feeding Baby equipment can also increase his stats, but it's not very useful, especially this early as the weak equipment will rarely have any effect. As for his go fetch option, I'll deal with that towards the end of the game. Since Baby starts at level 1, I'm going to level him up a bit first. My first battle here gets me 2 new enemies, Giant Ant and Ogre. Right now Baby is weak, his basic chomp only doing single digit damage, but Knight is strong enough to carry him. The first fight gets him to level 2. 2 more fights later and he hits level 3, then level 4 the next fight. When I need to heal, I can simply return to the Coastal Inn for a free rest. The next fight after my rest gets Baby to level 5, then level 6 2 fights later. Knight also reaches level 14 the next fight, and the next fight gets Baby to level 7. 5 battles more get Baby to level 8, then to level 9 after 4 more fights. Another 4 battles get him to level 10, then Knight reaches level 15 from the very next battle. 4 more get Baby to level 11. Time to get going now. I go north from the inn and then east across this bridge. I keep going east along the edge of the land until I have no choice but to go south. The path goes southeast, then east some more until I reach a sign saying that Easton is further southeast. Moving past the sign has us walking on a confrontation. It turns out that gun Bonnick was selling was faulty and nearly killed the user. This guy was supposed to be fighting in a mayoral election, so they demand him give them a stand-in fighter. Though Bonnick claims he would never sell a faulty weapon and wants to check it himself. That's when we interfere and Bonnick accuses him of lying. His opponent is also using a stand-in for the election, and so this guy is clearly faking an injury to get out of facing him. The man ignores this and just decides that Knight is going to be his stand-in. Bonnick points out that Knight has nothing to do with this, so the man has his henchmen shadily take Bonnick away to look at this weapon. Once he's gone, the man introduces himself as Rickton. He's now threatening us to fight in the election in exchange for Bonnick's life. And so he takes us to his house in Easton. We can't leave town, but he has booked a room for me at the inn, how kind. As long as I don't leave town, I'm free to explore it. The first notable thing I find is in the southwest corner near the cafe, where there's a huge dragon named Ikby just standing there who I can talk to. Nehani translates what she's saying. She thinks Baby is cute, and I was surprised to agree. When I first saw him in that intro FMV, I was like, the fuck is that thing? But his design grew on me quickly. In the most southwest corner is a chest containing the living toy Kimoni, who heals better than Cupid does. Half of my maximum health compared to the third that Cupid heals. But of course Kimoni costs more. South of this wall is another chest containing Buccaneer mail for a 1 point increase over the bronze mail. I go inside the cafe and check the second pile of barrels against the wall for a single ruby to fall into my hands. At the counter we meet our opponent, Darkbeat. He's some kind of chosen one and the stand-in for Marco, Rickton's rival. He seems pretty confident, saying he'll go easy on us and not hurt us. Based on comments from other NPCs, it seems this Marco is more popular with the townspeople. North of the cafe is a small house belonging to Marco. He's basically the most decent human being on the planet, genuinely glad that arsehole Rickton found a stand-in and won't be stuck fighting Darkbeat himself. The only reason Marco isn't fighting is because he injured his back saving an old lady from being run over. I root around in his boxes upstairs to find a bug. These have no purpose other than to feed Baby, but since I'm getting the highest amount of every item, I'm hoarding this. Outside the house is a gambler who bet all of his money on me winning the fight. I can also bet on the fight myself, with Baby listed as a pig and Ikby listed as a walrus. I bet 20 rubies on myself to find that my odds of winning are down as 20 to 1. I intervene and inspect the fireplace, causing a cheeseburger to fall out. I take it. Slightly east of Ikby is the current mayor's house. Even he supports Marco over Rickton. Then we find out exactly why Rickton is even bothering. At her party, the mayor said that the next mayor gets to marry his daughter, Carmen. She's upstairs and wants us to lose on purpose so she can marry Marco. Marco is such a good guy that even with this on the line, he still asked her not to ask us to lose on purpose, out of fairness. I enter the town shop and buy myself a 200 ruby iron armour for 1 more point of defence, an iron helmet for 1050 rubies for an increase of 10 points, and another 200 for an iron shield and 2 more points of defence. With everyone spoken to, I return to the inn and turn in for the night. The next morning, Rickton is waiting for me. He's pretending to be polite in front of the innkeeper and even says that Bonnick wishes us well. Outside, the mayor says, let the bravest man win, despite neither of them fighting. So Knight and Darkbeat face each other. Baby starts by trying to hit Igby with a hammer but misses. Igby takes most of my health with a single tail whip. Then Darkbeat uses his Horizon Beam, which takes Knight out and leaves Baby at critical health. But Knight's defeat instantly ends the fight. Yeah, this one's unwinnable. When it fades back in, Nehani tells Knight to sleep off his wounds in the inn. Carmen visits, feeling bad about asking Knight to lose. Yeah, that's why I lost. It was intentional. When Knight is finally able to get out of bed, Nehani lets him know that Bonnick managed to get away safely. He came by to thank Knight but had to rush to Zed Harbour. First thing I do is visit Marco, who was the one to rush me to the inn after being defeated. He apologises for Rickton getting me involved. He says Knight will always be welcome here and pays us 500 rubies, giving us all his money so that as mayor he can start again from scratch. Nehani asks if he knows how to get to God's Tower. He says I need to go east to Zed Harbour so that I can catch a ship to the eastern continent. Now I'm free to leave town, I get heading east like Marco said. I cross a bridge and head south. One of the new enemies I face here is the Snapdragon. It has its own health sealing attack, so it takes a couple turns to kill. A couple fights later, Baby reaches level 12. I finally check out Mapster so I can see what the world looks like and find that Zed Harbour is more south than east of Isten. So I just follow the road south until I find a sign saying that Zed Harbour is south and the desert is to the west. First I head west into this desert for a small grind. I face a sand ghost that would be a threat alone, but with 2 party members isn't a problem. Killing it gets Knight to level 16, then the next one gets Baby to level 13. A couple of fights later and I meet a giant flea. I try out Pyro in this battle. He's one of many living toys who hangs around for a few turns and keeps fighting until an enemy defeats him, at which point he can't be used for the rest of the battle. Baby also uses his headbutt attack here, which stuns himself for a turn. It's also around here I try out Kimoni for the first time. I don't use every living toy I collect, but I'll show off the ones that do make an appearance. I return to the sign after a bit and keep going south. Baby reaches level 14 and I soon reach Zed Harbour. This town is going to become the bane of my life in the future. The guide I'm using says that late in the game the shops will become inaccessible, so any items only sold here I'll have to max out before then. Going down the street and taking the first turn east has me find a Sanclarian merchant who recognises me and says that the ship docked here is going to the eastern continent, but we need tickets. I go into the house directly north of him and inspect the plant inside to find a bug on it. In one house south from the gate is a man who spent his entire life watering a potted plant without realising it was a Christmas tree the entire time. Next to that house is the governor's residence. I go through the first door I pass into the governor's office and inspect this stand to find the buccaneer sword stashed behind it. He lost it there a while ago and lets us have it since it doesn't fit his style. It's 2 points stronger than the iron sword. I talk to the governor who asks if I'm old enough to vote, then tells me to get lost when I'm not. Nehani dislikes him. I can go upstairs and talk to his wife, who complains that no one else sees his good husband side, only his multiple twattish aspects. Wonder why. His son, instead of going the rude arsehole route, goes the creep route instead, asking if he can feel up Nehani. Next to the son's room is a chest I can't open as a pebble is lodged in the keyhole. I have to try opening it 4 or 5 times to get the pebble loose and open it for the living toy Baron. This turns 10% of my damage into money. I never use this one. And just in case the governor's wife seemed like the nice one of the family in comparison, we can go into the cellar and find she's so scary that a servant hides from her down there. I leave and watch this NPC get stuck against the stairs for a bit. I go south to the docks and inspect this cannon to find a tower shield lodged inside, 1 point over the iron shield. On the east side of the docks is a chest with the living toy minicar inside. This one just rams into a single enemy to knock it out of the battle. I can also check out one of the crates next to it for another bug. In a house slightly east of the governor's, there's a man in the basement planning world domination while staring at his wall. The next house east we can get a little bit of backstory by inspecting some building blocks, where we learn that Nehani has been with Knight since he was young enough to be playing with them. There's also a mineberry in the blocks. I go east some more until I see an armourer, then enter the house across the street from it. I inspect the potted plant for another bug, and then again for another, and once again. This plant is a source of infinite bugs, and I just stand there mashing X until Knight's bag is full and I can make Baby very happy feeding him like 7 or 8 bugs at once. And since I'm maxing out all items, I start mashing X for even longer and sticking all the bugs into Baby's inventory. 15 minutes later, Baby holds 99 bugs because I haven't found out the cap is 100 yet. I check out the armourer and spend 1250 rubies on an elven sword, 6 points stronger than the buccaneer sword. Then 600 goes towards a Viking shield, 3 points stronger than the tower shield. That's wiped out my funds. In the northeast corner of town is a house with believers in a being called Artema, who also tried to convert Knight to their religion. The believer upstairs gives me the living toy vampire. This damages both the party and the enemies by 10% of their maximum health every turn. This sounds like a good way to get yourself killed, so I won't be using it. Searching this specific corner of the sofa will also get me an apple. West of that house is a cafe. Inside I can play the piano badly to make customers throw apples at me. Like the plant, this piano is a source of infinite apples, but I just get the one for now. Back in the Artema believer's house, there was an entire hidden church I missed. I can then take another door into a connected house. Hidden in the empty spot of this bookshelf is the living toy Heal Bat. It heals you by the amount of damage it deals to the enemy. In one of the side streets in the northwest is this house. Upstairs I talk to the guy living there who says he got a cactus in the desert near Kuldor, but inspecting it has it turned out to be fake. After getting lost for a while and running in circles, I finally find the ticket office, just next to the cannon in the southwest corner of town. Bonnick's already there, having already made the money to open his own shop in Jungo by selling all his jewels to the governor. He then sets off while singing, but he also just bought the last ticket. I would have thought letting our friend die back in Easton would have made things easier for us. I go back to the cafe and listen in on a conversation about the governor looking for another gem, an emerald protected by the Beast of Kuldor. Anyone who brings it to him can have anything they want from him. Talking to the governor has him confirm this. Going back to the docks to see a new group of three standing there. There's the old man, Gwynladin, who thinks we're here to carry their bags. The healer, Ramal, who quickly loses her temper with Nehani for simply correcting him. Finally the knight, Kalkanor, who has no time for picking fights and just wants the emerald from Kuldor. They leave, but Nehani notices that something about them unnerves Baby, making him shake. Well, now it looks like I have competition. So of course I spend time grinding. Back in the desert, Knight reaches level 17. I face a new enemy, Sandworm. It takes a few hits from both of them to kill it. Killing it gets Baby to level 15. A few more fights later and he's level 16. The next fight gets Knight to level 18. 7 minutes later, Baby is level 17. With that grind done, I head to the southwestern corner of the desert. It's quite a trek and I have to check maps many times to make sure I'm going the right way, but eventually I find a cave entrance. I talk to the old man inside, Rogo. He thinks I'm someone else and tells me to deliver a stone slate to Gallic in the town Carmarthen. He doesn't listen when Nehani tries to explain we're not this Jedro, so we just do it for him. I inspect the dirt across from him to find snoozeweed. Then I check out the crates next to his house for a strange bug, which is a separate item to the regular bug. I then just continue south and out of the cave on the other side. I get following the road south. First battle gets a new enemy, Mantis. The next battle gets an important one, Psycho Cat. Killing it teaches Baby how to transform into it in battle, which he will at random if his happiness is the right level. Baby also gained a Nickaby transformation when I fought her back in Easton. There's only a small amount of transformations compared to the amount of enemies in this game, so getting them all isn't too hard. The next battle after this gets Knight to level 19. Following the road east a little more takes me to some stairs leading into the mining town Carmarthen. One of the citizens tells me that Kalkanor has already passed by here on his way to Kuldor. Checking out the weapon shop, I spend 1900 rubies on the dwarf sword, 3 points stronger than the elven sword, and there goes most of my money once again. After resting at the inn, I leave town and grind for money, getting Baby to level 18. Then 4 minutes for Knight to reach level 20, Baby to level 19 a battle later. I build up 2100 rupees for some Roman armour, 13 points stronger than Buccaneer mail, then back to the grind. 8 minutes later, Baby reaches level 20. 3 minutes after that, Knight reaches level 21. 9 minutes later, Baby also reaches level 21. I build up another 2150 rubies for Azusa's shield, 8 more points over the Viking shield. I check out the house south of the inn, belonging to the mayor. It seems the title of mayor is passed on to the next of kin, as this woman became mayor after the previous one, her husband, died in a cave-in. Nearby, a woman tells me that Kuldor is the ruins past a swamp to the west of town. Past her, I can keep moving southwest along the cliff until I find a lone house hidden away. I try to enter, and Nehani says that it must be Gallic's house, but he isn't home. Back into town, and to the east is the entrance to the coal mine. I go inside and keep moving east, and first south turn I see leads to a chest with the living toy Miner. When used in battle, it just attacks with an axe. When used outside, it mines for money. Going back east, I take the first north and inspect a minecart for a bone shield. It's weaker than my Zeus's shield though. That's all I can do in this town for now, so I leave down the stairs and get following the road leading southwest. It soon leads into the swamp mentioned earlier. My first battle gets 2 new enemies to appear, Fatal Frog and Triad. The triad inflicts terror on both my characters, leaving them too afraid to fight. But living toys aren't affected, so I just ram it out of the fight with Minicar. Baby learns the fatal frog transformation. This place is a bit of a maze, so I start by going southwest some more across a bridge, then west across 2 more. South across a bridge, northwest along another, Knight reaches level 22. Then east and north across 2 more bridges, northwest across another, then west across one. Here I faced my first Fangfish. Here we can see the difference being able to equip armor makes, as Knight only takes 9 damage from an attack that deals 40 to Baby. I then go south across a bridge and then west across another, and finally south, east, south and west across 4 more bridges to reach the entrance to Kuldo. There's a merchant there who offers to watch over me while I sleep so that I can heal and save before I go in. The first room is a straight line south. In the next room I start by turning east. My first battle here is against a new enemy, Knightless. Pretty basic, can attack both characters at once. Hidden behind the camera against the wall is a chest containing a peach potion. I then turn around and move west, finding another chest with the living toy Psychodog. This one converts 20 HP from Knight into 10 PP for the cost of 2 PP, so you're only really gaining 8. Following the western path has me face the strongest enemy yet, Doorface. This one can even do decent damage to Knight. At the end of the path is stairs going up to this winding corridor. Near the end of this path is a chest that gets me the living toy Foreman. This one is an instant warp to the dungeon entrance, so it's very useful. But it also triggers a battle against a Mimic. Just in case this is a pain, I summon Pyro, who deals the finishing blow by dealing my first attack to do triple digit damage. It also levels Baby up to 22. North of that chest is another with a candy bar, and south of it is another with a second. Then west of it is a door to a room with some stairs where there's a fork. I first go south into a room with a chest containing Kuldian armour. This one is also a downgrade from the Roman armour I grinded for. Going north at the fork takes me to a higher level of the Mimic room. This leads to 2 more chests for 2 living toys, Freud and Clerisy. Clerisy heals me a little every turn, like Final Fantasy's regen spell. Freud puts a single enemy to sleep. With the west wing cleared out, I leave to heal with the merchant. So this time I check out the east wing, which goes downstairs instead of up. The next room is just down more stairs and then east into another where we're deep enough for there to be lava pits. The first enemy I face in here is a Boomda, just a general fire enemy. Killing it gets Knight to level 23. I head to the centre of the room and then south to find the entrance to another. I then pretty much do the same thing for that room, leading to a chest containing the living toy Angel. It gives a stronger heal than Kimoni but costs more PP. I go back to the previous room and move west across this rock bridge. Then at the end I go north to find a chest containing a cheeseburger. Then it's back south and west some more to the next room. I go up the stairs and west across another bridge to another room. In here I face the largest regular enemy so far, the Crimshaw. I'm treating this one like a boss, so I summon Pyro and O'Neill to help me out. Despite that, he doesn't do as much damage as I was expecting. Nahani also uses her Pixie Dust skill, which is a small heal to both characters. I admit I was disappointed to not level up from killing it. I follow this room's winding path all the way, with Baby reaching level 23 during it. It leads to a chest containing a cheeseburger and the door to the next screen. I first turn west to grab the chest containing a Sword of Might, still weaker than my dwarf sword. I then continue south into an even larger room where Nahani points out the trio we met in Zed Harbour. We get to watch them in an automated battle with the dungeon boss. We can see how far above us Kalkanor is when his normal attack deals over 240 damage. In the end, he's defeated in only 3 hits. As they take the emerald, Gwynladin says they have only 3 more to find. Kalkanor says they are a step closer to world peace and that they need to get going again quickly so they can stop someone called Carmine. They leave, only stopping so Kalkanor can tell us we were too late. Nahani says all we can do is go back to Carmarthen to see if Gallic is home, then return to Zed Harbour to work something out. First I talk to the winged lion they defeated, who gets angry at us and attacks. This boss has 392 HP. As is usual for bosses, I start by sending out Pyro. It uses the attack Meteor, which for how destructive the animation is, does a lot less damage than I was expecting. About 4 turns is all it takes for the 3 of us to beat it down. Defeating it gets us the White Shield, a point stronger than the Zeus's shield. With everything collected here, I leave and get moving back to Carmarthen. On the way back, Knight reaches level 24. That's all until I get back to Carmarthen, and this time I can enter Gallic's house. I talk to him to hand over the stone slate. He has his own artifact and slots the 2 together to create a warp gate key. Warp gates are large tunnels that connect many places in the world. We saw one after leaving Kell into the second half of the Cave of Fear. However, even when put together, this key is still broken. Gallic sees a small slot on the key for something extra, but he has no idea what goes in it. I go east into his lab and then up the stairs into the attic to find a talking treasure chest that gives me a spinach snack. Despite the chest's warning that it will self-destruct, it doesn't. With all that done, it's time to go back to Zed Harbour. Backtracking through the desert, I find an enemy I missed the first time, the Tau Tau, but by now I'm so far above it, it's no threat. Nothing else happens on the way back. Before seeing the governor, I go back into the cafe and mash X against the piano for an infinite supply of apples. 10 minutes later I have 100, and I also get a 100th bug from that one plant, so there's my first 2 item counts maxed out. I return to the governor's office where he's begging Calcanor's group for the emerald. Calcanor says he can't have it as it is a holy gem to be used in saving the world. Nehani has Knight show the heavy stone he found in the Galestork's nest. Calcanor offers to pay any price in exchange for it. Nehani says we just need tickets for the ship and Calcanor gladly accepts the trade. The trio are very grateful, the governor is not. But the ship will have to wait for next episode as I'm leaving it here. For such a simple game, I was having a lot of fun with this. It helps that things actually move at a fast pace, dungeons aren't too long and neither is the travel to the next important location. At no point so far has any part of the game felt like a slog. Next episode will finally leave the continent and get a bit more freedom, so look forward to it.